Okay, here we go again. It's Monday, the beginning of another week, the next to last week of July already. It's almost over, then we'll jump into August. It got hot way too early this year. The weather is out of sync, as you know. No big surprise. In fact, the planet is more out of sync than I have ever seen it. Texe Mars is up first tonight. We have a number of things to talk about. His upcoming newsletter is going to be loaded with material. The U.S. and Israeli coup in Ukraine, and very cleverly hiding behind the dumb neo-Nazis there. It's a Khazarian Zionist U.S. coup. That's what it is. It's not a neo-Nazi coup. The Cold War against Russia, quite clearly, quite obviously. The threats by the spineless Obama. One wonders if he sat on a broomstick and got a spine. Hard to tell. And Khazars in general. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. Hello, my friend. Welcome back.
Hello, Jeff. Glad to be with you again.
All right. We have, the blame game is being played out in the world Zionist press about Malaysian Airlines MH17. The latest word is that, and we know that country's being watched from top to bottom, inside out. Your Air Force intel, you know, the powers that be know exactly what happened to that airplane. Exactly.
Well, yes, they do. It was shot down over the Ukraine. Obviously, it came from Russia, so it wasn't shot down over Russia. It was shot down over the Ukraine. And the Ukrainian, of course, the military have the missiles and and they have the MiG aircraft. So whichever did it, we know that the Ukrainians did it. Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul, he's still out there and he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
He, told America, don't blame Putin. It's just like 9/11, within hours after this plane goes down in the Ukraine, suddenly the world Zionist press, boy, you sure did name them appropriately, and President Obama's administration said Vladimir Putin did it. Of course, Putin has the whole world's press against him because he's come up against the Israeli juggernaut.
Right.
He is defending the Christian church.
Yeah.
And he's against homosexuality, for one thing, which is a smaller thing, I suppose.
Boy, is he out of step with the times. Jeez.
Oh, he is. He absolutely. He's he's like the old American traditionalist. We have the Soviet Union now. The Russia. That used to be the Soviet Union, defending traditional values, family values. He stands with the church in Russia. He says America is a wicked place. He means wicked in terms of religion, and he's absolutely right.
He has 100% correct.
But he knows what he's up against. He's there in the Ukraine, which borders Russia, and the Jews and Israel and the United States have been working for a number of years, and maybe we can explain this to the folks because the press doesn't give them any reason to believe otherwise than that Vladimir Putin is an evil, evil man who wants a Cold War against America. And I suppose now Putin is going to be the new Hitler who will want to rule the world, and we must stop him.
Yeah. They're rolling out the same tired, scum-laden public relations libel and defamation against Putin that they did against Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, Bashar al-Assad. You can go right down the list. It's the same thing. It's a template, and they pull it out and just dust it off and paint a different name and a face on it. It's enough to make you and I and our very smart listeners sick. This so-called media is a scam. It is a lie. It is the enemy, just as much the enemy as anything else, as the Federal Reserve. The media is complicit in all of it.
Oh, yes, the media is absolutely controlled by these people. And the interesting thing is I don't really watch any of the media. I watch Fox News sometime, but I noticed they start out breaking news, says Megyn Kelly or O'Reilly. Our best ally in the Middle East, Israel, has been attacked by the Palestinians. Our best ally, or our only the only democratic nation in the Middle East, Israel, is being attacked.
Well, they don't mention.
And of course,
excuse me. They don't mention the only genocidal nation, the only racist apartheid nation, the rottenest, most viable excuse for a nation that I've ever seen. It's privately owned. It's owned by the Rothschild banking cartel.
That's right. Netanyahu has gone in, and of course now we know he's killed over 700 Palestinians. That's the official report. We really don't know how many. No, maybe it's in the thousands. But he's decimated a wide swath of territory. He says we had to do it because the terrorists are hiding behind the people. They're hiding. Jeff, did you know that the Palestinian terrorists, according to Netanyahu, are hiding in the hospitals? They're hiding in everywhere, and he won't let the Red Cross, of course, even go in to check this out.
They're hiding.
They're hiding the hospitals and schools. They're so evil and mean.
Yeah.
So we had to bomb these hospitals and schools.
Right. Of course.
And so forth, because the Hamas are hiding out there.
They're hiding under bedpans, under IV drips. They're hiding in behind textbooks in schools. Look, it's such a joke. It's all it's backwards. Bad. It's exactly backwards from reality.
It is. Now, this thing with Ukraine is extremely interesting. People need to get the name Ukraine and figure it out on the map, because, when the Vietnam War started, most Americans didn't even know where Vietnam was. We have to get this straight in our minds that Ukraine is going to be with us quite a while, because the Jews have staged a coup with the United States. They have overthrown the constitutionally elected government. They had a small force of neo-Nazis. Yes, they are neo-Nazis. They pretend to be neo-Nazis, called the Right Sector. But what these are, now, I sent you an article today, Jeff, from Foreign Policy Journal. Now, Foreign Policy is the official journal of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is made up of about 80% Jews. And they had an article in there by Josh Cohen, a Jew, May 7th, 2014, that will explain some of the things to the more intelligent of your listeners. They have an article entitled, Why Jews and Ukrainians Have Become Unlikely Allies. It says, today, these two sides are joining forces against Vladimir Putin. So,
excuse me, but what's unlikely about it? They're both Zionist. I don't get it.
That's true. Well, they explain here, for example, that a number of Jews in Ukraine, young Jews, were brought to Israel and given military training, and then they were sent back. Now, Americans don't even think this is possible, but the Foreign Policy is actually admitting it. Josh Cohen in Foreign Policy Journal, he says that these Jews were trained in Israel and then sent back in to the Ukraine, where they commanded Ukrainian forces, and it was like a romantic thing. They said this is like that American movie, The Dirty Dozen or whatever. They were sent there and what they really were sent there is to overthrow the constitutionally elected government of Yakoov. And they did that. And remember, they killed those people, those snipers. They were the snipers. Yeah. They're called the Right Sector,
right?
But they're not right-wingers at all. Of course, the Jews pretend to be Muslims, Jews, right-wing, left-wing, right here in America, too.
The ultimate chameleons.
That they really are. And this is something that's happening in Ukraine, very unique. And I think it's been explained by an article that you and I both read by Jim Bald, a Jewish professor who wrote in the Times of Israel an article explaining that Israel has now determined in a secret meeting of Netanyahu and his staff, and with these billionaire Jews around the world, they have determined to conquer Ukraine because, get this, Ukraine is the centerpiece of ancient Khazaria. The Jews came, we know, DNA tells us, they came from ancient Khazaria. They took Israel in 1948, or Palestine, and now they are determined to go back to Khazaria and conquer it, which they have done. They placed their puppet, Poroshenko, in charge. And I really want to explain to your people how Victoria Nuland of the State Department, George Gershon of an American traitor organization funded by our U.S. government, but Jewish Zionist directed, a man named George Gershon is the head of it. These two spent over $5 billion by admission of Miss Nuland, who is head of the State Department in terms of Ukraine, and they spent all this money and years in the Ukraine to overthrow, to have a coup. And now they're in charge of the Ukraine, except for Crimea, which Russia saved with its vote and so forth. But they're determined to keep Putin out, and they are also determined, these Jews there, the minority, they're the minority. Remember this. The minority, the Jews, they call themselves the right sector. They have taken hold of the scalp of Ukraine. They're only about 0.5% of the people of Ukraine, and the poor people of Ukraine are going to be they're going
sacrificed.
To be. Oh my God! They're going to be. It's going to be just like the Soviet Union was in 1917.
Same thing. 0.5%, and it's 0.3% on the world stage. It is such a minority; it's a joke.
That's right. But think of it. In Russia, hundreds of millions of people, over 200 million in 1917. And Lenin, who now the Red Museum, the Lenin Museum on Red Square in Moscow, admits that the Russian people were lied to. The actual Lenin Museum, I have the article, says that yes, Lenin was a Jew, and of course Trotsky was a Jew. The Jews took over Russia. They put the commandants. They assigned all the commandants. They were Jewish rabbis. It was the Jewish rabbis who killed 66 million people. Now, that's not my statistic. That's the statistic that historian and world-famous author, what's his name?
Arthur Koestler.
Who wrote the Gulag Archipelago.
Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah, right, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. That was his statistic. But as far as, I want people to understand something. Now, this is going to be a shock to people. Did you know, Jeff, that in the Ukraine, the head of the Jewish religion there is the chief rabbi? They have a chief rabbi in every country where the Jews are strong. His name is Yakoov Bleich, Bleich. He is an American. He was sent there to oversee this. Yakoov Bleich of America is the chief rabbi in Ukraine. He is overseeing all this stuff. I'm very sure of it. He knows what's going on. He's working with the Israeli government.
Sure.
They're actually training the Ukrainians, the Jews, and sending them back in as commandos. Now, this is all told in they think it's wonderful. Foreign policy. Josh Cohen wrote this article. And they're all aiming, of course, at keeping Putin out. Even Joe Biden was sent to a big conference where he himself says, Joe Biden, our vice president, he said, I looked Putin in the eye and I told him, you have no soul. You are evil.
Oh, well, Biden has an IQ of a box of oatmeal, first of all. I'm sure Putin was probably laughing inside.
I mean, don't you know his knees were shaking?
I'm sure.
He was scared of Biden.
Unbelievable.
Biden also went over to Ukraine.
What an obscenity.
Yeah, Biden is like I guess Obama didn't want to do it. He's he's scared or whatever. He's now playing pool and everything he can to keep from his responsibilities.
Right.
But Biden was sent over there, idiot that he is, He was actually sent when Yakoov, the president, was in charge, and he told him, you need to compromise. You need to give up a lot of your power. And, of course, it ended a few months later with Yakoov getting overthrown by these Jewish commandos that were been sent in. But Americans don't know any of this going on.
No, let me say one other thing.
It's an amazing thing.
It is an amazing story. You talked about the Jews being extracted from Ukraine, trained in Israel, and then sent back in. First of all, you're 100% right. They're doing the same thing here in our country, though. They're extracting chiefs of police from all over the country, sending them all expenses paid to Israel, training them on how to suppress brutally and ruthlessly any civil dissent. That's the truth. That's why, one of the reasons why, the American police are thugs and killers, and the militarization of the American police is proceeding absolutely at flank speed. It's coming out of Israel. And the rabbis running the show over there are like commissars. They're Bolsheviks. I don't care what label they put on them.
That's right. Now, this Rabbi Bleich, B-L-I-C-H, American, who is head of the Ukrainian Jewish Church, the synagogues there, think of that. An American rabbi is heading up this horrible, I call it the persecution of the Ukrainian people. Now, the Ukrainian people have suffered. Stalin, the Holodomor, all of those Cossacks and all of the farmers.
That's right.
The collectivist forming. Stalin killed 15 or 16 million Ukrainians prior to World War II, and now they've got the Jews running them, and they know what's coming up, and they're all frightened to speak. Fortunately, Putin is trying to help out, but what can he do? Now he has this airplane incident blamed on him. They're doing all these things, telling Putin, stay out. This is our preserve. And, Jeff, I don't think it can be understated to say that Israel is setting up a second homeland. This is Khazaria. Kiev was one of the chief cities in the ancient Khazaria. And the Jews, this is an amazing thing. Their DNA they understand the DNA. The DNA has come out, and now they can't hide it any longer. They have the top scientists in the world saying that they are Khazarians.
Right. That's right.
That they are not from ancient Israel. They're not the descendants of Abraham. Nope. They know that people are finding out about this. The scientific world is coming to its senses on this, and they can't hide these scientific facts anymore. DNA has proven this. So now, Henry Kissinger said almost 2 years ago, this was in a New York newspaper, page 1. He said, in 10 years, there will be no Israel. Now, I'm sure that all the people like you and I and our listeners were overjoyed to hear that. But what he meant was they're going to seek greater things. They're not going to stay back in that little desert. They know that they're Khazarians. They know that they're not Israelites. They're using this as a guise and a hoax. But their aim is bigger. They want the new world order to be Jewish. They want to be in charge of it. So they've already destabilized with American military forces and so forth. The entire Middle East has been destabilized, except for a few little sectors like Iran and Syria, which Putin kept America from invading, by the way. And that's one of the reasons they hate him so much. He saved America from 2 major wars. They hate the guy now. So, what are they going to do about this? Well, they're determined to conquer Iran. They're determined to finish off Syria. And America and Britain, working with the Jews, has trained the ISIS army. And al-Baghdadi is our man over there. That's the reason we're not bombing the we could get rid of the ISIS people in a few weeks.
They control
mostly with bombing attacks.
Yeah, they control 1/3 of Syria now by all accounts.
But what has happened is, Jeff, and this is an amazing thing too. It was when they went. It was determined that they would go. That they didn't have all the military. They were getting their back ends kicked by al-Assad, So it was determined they needed military weapons. They needed tanks. They needed helicopters.
That's right.
They needed all the jeeps. They needed all these things. What could they do? They were sent, our forces fighting in Syria, okay? These terrorists, the ones that actually cut a man's entrails out and grab his heart and eat it raw. These are the kind of horrible people these ISIS terrorists are. They were sent by us into Iraq. This is by American, Jewish command, sent into Iraq, where the Iraqi army would have easily defeated them. I mean, there was the Iraqi army trained by America for over 10 years. They had all these modern weapons that we had left over there. That was the purpose of ISIS going into Iraq, first of all. They did take 1/3 of Iraq in some of its major cities. But they went in, and the Iraqi soldiers were shocked. They were told by their Baghdad, Iraq, commanders, the generals, to surrender.
You told me that. You told me that on this program. You said they were ordered to stand down. That's amazing.
Right, exactly. Stand down, take off your uniforms, and leave all of your military bases and all of your equipment intact. So, and by the way, those banks where the al-Baghdadi and ISIS grabbed over $1 billion. Hey,
right,
banks don't do that. They know they're under attack. They get rid of everything. They don't have all that money. It's not like your local bank has millions and millions of banknotes. It's all done electronically.
Yeah.
So what happened was they were allowed to seize that money because America wanted to fund them. So we gave them $1 billion or more, and now they have all of the tanks, the helicopter gunships. They've all got all this military weaponry. Now they're headed back to Syria. Now they actually have the weaponry they need to defeat Assad.
They could defeat Assad's army. Yes, that's true.
Right. ISIS will go back. That's why they haven't proceeded any further in Iraq. We're going to let the Shiites have a certain amount of territory, and the Kurds have a certain amount.
Yeah.
All of this was the project for the new American Century Plan.
PNAC laid it all out. Hold on a minute. We have to pause. We'll come right back. Fascinating conversation with Texe Mars right on top of the situation. Okay, I may be in the minority here, but I have felt from the beginning when Vladimir Putin put his word on the line 3 times now on video that he would not stand for the militarization of the lifestyles or harming of Russian-speaking peoples or Russians in East Ukraine. And he has balked 3 times. Sergei Lavrov said the same thing. We will not stand for any military action against Russians or Russian-speaking peoples in the East. We will stop it. Nothing has been done. It's really almost too late for Putin to go in there now. He had a golden opportunity. He could have cut the country, the eastern third of it off, made everyone happy, right at the Dnieper River. It's a perfect boundary if you look at it. Kharkov is on the east, Odessa is on the south and out of the way. He did nothing. And he is, sorry to say this, nearly universally reviled, if not hated, with a passion by many of the people there for not coming in and helping. They slaughtered the people of Slavyansk. The Kiev killers took that town. They rounded up every young male, 21 to 35, I believe was the spread, took them out of town in buses. No one's seen them since. They were put into what's called filtration camps. That's what it was, filtration centers. And now they're pounding the suburbs and the apartment block sections of Lugansk, killing people, and nothing's being done. Yes, Russians are volunteering. Yes, they've got man-pads, shoulder-fired missiles. But basically, that's all they have. They've been doing it the hard way. They're fighting mercenaries. They're fighting hardcore professionals, Muslims. They're fighting Western Special Forces people. It's not a good situation at all. Go ahead.
Well, you're absolutely right. This shows the great pressure on Putin. Now, we may, ask him, why haven't you gone in to help these people? Ukraine is going to become the 21st century new Soviet Union. This is where the Jews have taken charge. Now we're going to see what they will do when given an entire country of 45 million people, and we've already seen it. They actually admit that they have these filtration camps. They're taking people away to the concentration camps. Timoshenko, the woman, very, very brutal, just like many of the communist women were. Yeah. She said, "I would like to take a gun," and please, everyone, forgive my language. This is what she said, and blow Putin's fucking head off. I mean, when you have a woman who was head of your country and is one of the top political leaders, when she makes a statement to the press, and says, "I would like to blow this man's effing head off." Yeah. I mean, this all of them. That goes hand in hand. All of the leaders, of course, are Jews. All of them have training by the Mossad. Yeah. And they know that they've got this country now, unless Russia will intervene. But here's what's happened to Putin. I follow this very carefully. He's been warned over and over. He's been told, "We'll break you down economically if you don't let us take Ukraine." This Ukraine is very important to Israel. It's their second homeland. I want to emphasize this. They believe that they're going back to Khazar to Ukraine is almost as important as taking Israel in 1948. So it's not a little thing with them. Ukraine is I will say again, the centerpiece of Khazar. That's where their capital city of Etil was. The archaeologists have, and they believe that they deserve Ukraine. It's their homeland. Well, they deserve everything, don't they, Tex? Absolutely. And Putin has his own Jewish oligarchs. Now I know he's conquered some of them. He destroyed several of them. They fled the country. Many of them are living in Israel today. They were corrupt business people, just like our Wall Street types. Funniest thing. He's gotten rid of them, but he's got others now in his country, these billionaires. They're moving all their money out of Russia into Wall Street, into Britain and so forth. So he's got this problem with his GDP beginning to go down. Now, the second problem is that he has been told that Russia's main income is its oil and gas industry. You and I know that, Jeff. That's right. He's been told that his gas and oil interests are going to decline to the extent that he gets involved in Ukraine. Gazprom, Gazprom, is the largest gas company. It sells all of its oil and gas to the Ukraine, or it did, and to Europe. Well, Ukraine owes them $6 billion in back payments now for that gas, by the way. $6 billion is owed to Gazprom. But America is telling Ukraine, you don't have to pay that. And America is now opening up its gas resources. They've been hidden all these years. Now, Hillary Clinton actually must have been briefed on this, because she's a dumb gal too, but she recently stated, quote, "We need to punish Putin by selling our gas, American gas, to the Ukraine and to Europe." Hillary Clinton, she at least knows that much. You see, we have bottled up our natural gas until recently, and now Obama is now allowing, and the fracking is part of this. We have more gas and oil than the whole world. We're now number one in production in the whole world. Number one in production in the world, correct. Yep. We need, and Russia was the biggest in the world, one of the biggest producers, but we want to take all the Russian business. Our oil companies are clamoring to undo Gazprom. We want to sell Europe their natural gas. We want to sell the Ukraine. So we're telling the Ukrainians, we'll give you all of our natural gas. And we're building these liquefaction plants. Well, I go home to East Texas, Jeff. They're building one of the biggest liquefaction plants in the world. What does liquefaction mean? It means they take natural gas, which is a gas, out of the ground, and they liquefy it. And then they bring in these giant tankers, and they're going to be taking it all over the world. Did you know that until 1 year ago, America, the Department of Energy, forbid American companies from selling their natural gas overseas. They wouldn't even let us sell it. We had more natural gas. Right now, they're opening the spigots, and I'm telling you, go down to South Texas.
Yeah.
People have so much money. The motels are full of people. The Mexican laborers and the oil, the derricks are everywhere. The roads are all torn up. I mean, it's an incredible. It's like an explosion of money making. And these big oil companies, they've got into this in a big way. Mm-hmm. You know, again, natural gas was not even really for sale in America. Now, I'm telling you, it's going to be the world's biggest market. This is the only thing propping up the American economy, our gas and oil, and to a smaller extent, high tech. But we want this, and we don't want the Russians to be a competitor. Putin knows this. He knows that America is out to destroy Russia's oil and gas. See, this is more than just politics.
Well, it'd be a price war. It only costs $1 a barrel to get oil out of the ground. He can knock 10, 20% off his prices and deal effectively with the cost of having to have all of it transported across the Atlantic. I think he's shrewd. We'll see. And I do not think for one moment that if he were to go into the eastern part of Ukraine, which has already voted overwhelmingly to want to be associated with the Russian people and the Russian government, if he were to go in there, it would not start World War III. Not a chance.
You're right.
Not a chance. It's all
I don't think we have the guts to get into a war like that. Of course, Israel has not. They don't have the power to pull anything like that off. Hey, there's one thing that Americans don't understand. Victoria Nuland, the Jewish woman who was put in charge of the Ukraine desk at the State Department.
Yeah, can you hold on, Texe?
Sure.
I would do this break. Do you want to hear her little comments that she made?
Oh, yes, I'd love to.
I'll cue that up when we come back. All right.
All right.
Okay, let's get right back to Texe. All right, Texe, here's a little clip of Vicki Nuland talking to Jeffrey Payette about the situation in Ukraine months ago. And you watch the way they talk about this. It's like a board game to them. They're just moving pieces around. When she says Yats, she's talking about Yatsenyuk. We call him Ratsenyuk around here. And she's talking about the ex-boxer, too. Klitschko is his name. Now watch how she talks about these people. Now this is Victoria Nuland. Talk about an attitude, all right? Total control. Here it is.
The Klitschko piece is obviously the complicated electron here, especially the announcement of him as deputy prime minister. And you've seen some of my notes on the troubles in the marriage right now, so we're trying to get a read really fast on where he is on this stuff. But I think your argument to him, which you'll need to make, I think that's the next phone call we want to set up, is exactly the one you made to Yachts. And I'm glad you sort of put him on the spot on where he fits in this scenario. And I'm very glad he said what he said in response.
Good. So I don't think Kleitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you think, in terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking, in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tonybook and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yachts is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Kleitsch and Tonybook on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week, you know. I just think Kleitsch going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Okay. Good. Well, do you want us to try to set up a call with him as the next step?
My understanding from that call, but you tell me, was that the big three were going into their own meeting, and that Yats was going to offer in that context a three-way, the 3+1 conversation or 3+2 with you. Is that not how you understood it?
No, I mean, that's what he proposed, but I think just knowing the dynamic that's been with them where Klitschko has been the top dog, he's going to take a while to show up for whatever meeting they've got. He's probably talking to his guys at this point, so I think you reaching out directly to him helps with the personality management among the three, and it gives you also a chance to move fast on all this stuff and put us behind it before they all sit down and he explains why he doesn't like it.
Okay, good. I'm happy. Why don't you reach out to him and see if he wants to talk before or after?
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Okay, I've now written, one more wrinkle for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Can't remember if I told you this or if I only told Washington this, that when I talked to Jeff Feltman this morning, he had a new name for the UN guy, Robert Seri. Did I write you that this morning?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's now gotten both Seri and Ban Ki-moon to agree that Seri could come in Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, fuck the EU.
Okay, another diplomatic term. You get the idea that they are pushing these people around just like checkers on a chessboard. Yatsenyuk, Ratsenyuk is the guy that she wants. Klitsch, they want him out. They got him out. What'd they do? They made him mayor of Kiev. Okay, they gave him a door prize. It's all being controlled, all of it. Vicky Nuland, the other guy, Feinberg, or whoever he was. These are all Jews. Okay, they run the show. You folks understand that. Look, if they were Buddhists, we'd be talking about this the same way. The point is, we are faced with a Jewish, I guess it's a huge oligarchy. There are many members. It's like a fraternity. Putin has to be careful. As long as the Jewish oligarchs in Russia play ball, don't cause trouble, they're safe. He did jail one of them for quite a long time, as you know. There are problems. But to hear this kind of conversation makes it very obvious as to whom is in complete control of what goes on in Kiev.
Jeff, that is the most amazing. I've read that several times, but I've never quite heard it. But, the confidence in her voice, her telling him what to do.
Arrogance.
Obviously, she is running Ukraine from the United States. Now, how, people say, well, some little woman in the U.S. State Department, she doesn't have that much power. Let me explain to people.
Wait.
Yes, you know about this. Her husband is Robert Kagan, another Jew. Who is Robert Kagan? He was the guy who is co-founder of PNAC, of the Project for the New American Century. Okay,
you guys get it?
Her husband set up the Jewish group that in 1997 was founded to push America into 9/11. Yeah. They're the ones that said America needs a new Pearl Harbor to get it to do the things we want for this Zionist New World Order. I mean, that's her husband. They're the ones that put everything for 9/11 into locomotion. Let's just call it.
That's
her.
A board game.
She's the wife.
Yeah.
She and Vitaly Klitschko, former heavyweight boxing champion of the world. The poor guy, trying to be a patriot, but she didn't want him. She made sure now he's mayor, big deal, a ceremonial job.
They wanted Yatsenyuk, Ratsenyuk, because
Yatsenyuk now is the prime minister. Of course, Poroshenko is the president.
We call him
Jews that are running the Ukraine.
He's Porky Shenko around here.
Porky, I've seen that in your newsletter. By the way, we don't have much time. I want to tell people to get to Rense.com and read it every day. Go over to Rense.com. I do. I actually read it several times a day and go over all the articles because I'm sure in the coming weeks and months you're going to be the only one. I'm going to try to do my best, but you do such a job at this. You're the only one that's going to explain what's really happening now. People, if you listen to the Fox News, ABC News, you're going to get just totally propaganda. But Rense.com will tell it like it is, and I hope people will do that.
Thank you, Tex. It's a very ugly story in Gaza. I have called this for some time. I'm calling it the final genocide. I do believe they're going to make it uninhabitable. I don't think the Jews are going to stop. They're leveling block after block. They're going to make the whole thing an absolute disaster of depleted uranium, you name it. And all of that, all of those weapons, from the F-16s to the bombs, the munitions, the white phosphorus, we paid for it, folks. You, on your backs, working and sweating, paid for the Jewish weapons that are destroying humanity at an extraordinary pace. I believe, Tex, that Lieberman called for the entire reconquest of Gaza, and that's the entire Gaza Strip. I believe that is the goal. I believe that many Palestinians will have to flee for their lives, either south, north, or west into the Mediterranean. Wouldn't bother the Jews at all if they drown.
Well, it's astonishing to me. And, everything that we know, by the way, when she said F-U-C-K, the EU, the European Community, she was basically saying, don't worry about what EU says.
Forget them.
Just do what I say.
That's right.
Fuck them. It's a terrible statement by her there about the EU.
Blank
it shows
the
that they're
EU.
our puppets also.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That phone call is so pregnant with understanding. If you look at it in its totality, you'll get it. You get the power. You get who's in control. It ain't Barry Soetoro, that's for sure.
Oh no, Soetoro has nothing to do with this. Obama, and of course Biden too. He's just a joke.
Oh, he's an embarrassment. McCain is insane, but Biden is just plain stupid.
That's right. McCain is crazy. He's helped them put together the faction there in ISIS. So people want to know now, why are the Iraqis laying down their weapons? Why are they giving all of their weapons up and letting ISIS just take over these cities and the weapons? It's because the traitors in Baghdad are telling them to do it. What can you do if you're a colonel or a general yourself, and the head general in Baghdad says, don't fight, give up, leave. In fact, take off your uniform, just surrender.
And then
now,
go lay in a ditch. We need to understand that, because the poor Iraqis, they have really been shafted too. They tried.
The people there, after we killed about 1 million, now they're getting ripped apart by ISIS. And who cares about this, Jeff?
Right.
I mean, you and I can cry buckets of tears, but the American people don't even know.
They couldn't care less.
Soviet Union.
No, they couldn't care less.
That's right. When the Soviet Union was getting torn apart by the communists, we had Walter Duranty of the New York Times reporting back, this is a wonderful administration. And Lenin is doing a wonderful job here. A great thing is going on here. And Jews from all over the world went to live, from America, from Europe, went to live to help the Jews of Russia build their Jewish paradise, their utopia.
They were all Bolshevik Jews, and this country was rife with communists. Don't forget that, Bolsheviks. And Joe McCarthy was largely right.
All the people, American people, they're good people. Americans are patriotic, wonderful. If they could only find out the truth, what you and I have told them this hour is the truth. If they know that, they'll get angry and they'll do something. But
as Bush 41 said, if the American people knew what we were really doing, they'd take us out and hang us.
Well, exactly.
100% correct. I wish we had more time, Tex. That was a great hour. Thank you very much for the insight, as always. If you need to get on for any reason between now and next month, let me know, and we'll gladly make an hour available for you. The door is always open.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you for your great work.
All right,
okay,
thank you.
God bless.
You too. Good night. Okay, that's Tex Mars, and what a remarkable researcher, prolific producer of DVDs, of books, of all kinds of media. All right, we will be back with more. That's by the spineless Obama. One wonders if he sat on a broomstick and got a spine. Hard to tell. And Khazars in general, I'm going to talk about a lot of things. Hello, my friend. Welcome back.
Hello, Jeff. Glad to be with you again.
All right. We have, the blame game is being played out in the world Zionist press about Malaysian Airlines MH17. The latest word is that, and we know that country's being watched from top to bottom, inside out. Your Air Force intel, the powers that be know exactly what happened to that airplane. Exactly.
Well, yes, they do. It was shot down over the Ukraine because he's come up against the Israeli juggernaut.
Right.
He is defending the Christian church.
Yeah.
And he's against homosexuality, for one thing, which is a smaller thing, I suppose.
Boy, is he out of step with the times. Jeez.
Oh, he is. He absolutely. He's he's like the old American traditionalist. We have the Soviet Union now. The Russia. That used to be the Soviet Union, defending traditional values, family values. He stands with the church in Russia. He says America is a wicked place. He means wicked in terms of religion, and he's absolutely right.
He has 100% correct.
But he knows what he's up against. He's there in the Ukraine, which borders Russia, and the Jews and Israel and the United States have been working for a number of years, and maybe we can explain this to the folks because the press doesn't give them any reason to believe otherwise than that Vladimir Putin is an evil, evil man who wants a Cold War against America, and I suppose now Putin is going to be the new Hitler who will want to rule the world, and we must stop him.
Yeah. They're rolling out the same tired, scum-laden public relations libel and defamation against Putin that they did against Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, Bashar al-Assad. You can go right down the list. It's the same thing. It's a template, and they pull it out and just dust it off and paint a different name and a face on it. This is... Okay, here we go again. It's Monday, the beginning of another week, the next to last week of July already. It's almost over. Then we'll jump into August. It got hot way too early this year. The weather is out of sync, as you know. No big surprise. In fact, the planet is more out of sync than I have ever seen it. Texe Mars is up first tonight. We have a number of things to talk about. His upcoming newsletter is going to be loaded with material. The U.S. and Israeli coup in Ukraine, and very cleverly hiding behind the dumb neo-Nazis there. It's a Khazarian Zionist U.S. coup. That's what it is. It's not a neo-Nazi coup. The Cold War against Russia, quite clearly, quite obviously. The threat...
Obviously, it came from Russia, so it wasn't shot down over Russia. It was shot down over the Ukraine. And the Ukrainian, of course, the military have the missiles and and they have the MiG aircraft. So whichever did it, we know that the Ukrainians did it. Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul, he's still out there and he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
He, told America, don't blame Putin. It's just like 9/11, within hours after this plane goes down in the Ukraine, suddenly the world Zionist press, boy, you sure did name them appropriately. And President Obama's administration said Vladimir Putin did it. Of course, Putin has the whole world's press against him.